Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? So let's get back to Iraq. Don't that man look tired? As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, his hair is looking a little bit thinner on the top there. Wouldn't you say? My guess is he feels like he wants to pull it out. Not a whole lot going on outside of the fact that the coordination framework has given out a proposal, an initiative, which I think is interesting. It reminds me a lot of the kind of jargon that goes on in Washington here. How one political party would come forward with a so-called proposal, and it looks a little bit fishy. You'll see what I'm talking about. Before we get started, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. As you are aware, it helps me to get past the YouTube algorithms. If you are not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. I'm sure you're aware that now is the time to buy the shine. Yes, thanks to those manipulated prices, silver and gold are a little bit cheaper than they used to be. In case you haven't also noticed, the premiums are still kind of high on both gold and silver and other precious metals. That's because that price is being supported by constant purchases. So make sure you get your hands on your portion of gold and silver by reaching out to our friends over at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you are a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you will get a free half ounce of silver. Alrighty, so let's take a look at this proposal. The Coordination Framework announced on Wednesday the launch of a 9-point political initiative, accompanied by 9 commitments to implement it. So what do we got going on here? It says, based on sense of legitimate and moral responsibility, we announced this comprehensive national initiative to get out of the current crisis and the political blockage that has occurred recently, starting with the electoral results and the accompanying failures, and ending with a session on Wednesday, March 30th, 2022, and in order to preserve the interests of our honorable people once and for all, which this is, this coming from the coordination framework is almost laughable. Remember, these are the corrupt people that Sauter was targeting. And now all of a sudden they seem really concerned about the honorable people. It's unfortunately for the honorable people of Iraq that they don't have an honorable government. On the other hand, the coordinating framework and the forces and personalities allied with it, the initiative to build bridges of understanding and dialogue with all other forces and independent personalities to get out of the crisis that the country is experiencing. So here's what they have put in here. Here's what it stipulates. Now, let's go over these because, again, it's, the irony is just thick here. It says, in observance of the constitutional terms and in order to preserve the progress of the democratic process, we call on all parties to sit at the dialogue table and discuss solutions and remedies without preconditions or restrictions. Everyone puts the interests of the homeland and its citizens before his eyes. Yeah, okay, but if that was the case, so I'm not saying they're doing anything bad here, but I do think it's interesting that now they want to come out and talk about protecting the honorable people of Iraq after all the things that a lot of these members have put them through. The President of the Republic occupies an important and fundamental moral position as the protector of the Constitution and the symbol of the national unity and sovereignty, and a preserver of its unity and territorial integrity. The person of the President of the Republic should be characterized by efficiency, sincerity, good conduct, and behavior, and the Kurdish party should make efforts to understand and agree on a candidate with these qualities and within the established context. So here's the thing about this. Now they say that, but then when the Kurdistan people go to put who they believe fits this criteria, then all of a sudden you're going to see the coordination framework go, well, not that one. They'll just keep doing it. You can see all these nice things and make it look really good on paper and go to the Iraqi people, see what we want. We want the best. But the truth of the matter is, it don't make a difference what you put here. If the Kurdistan parties are responsible for the nominee, then there should be no voting on it, if that's the case. If you're saying to the Kurds, look, you're responsible for the president, we're responsible for the prime minister, and the Sunnis are responsible for the Speaker of the House. If that's the case, then those groups of people should be able to select their candidate and put him up there, put him or her up there in position, and not need the parliament vote. Do you see how that works? If this is truly what they're saying is, hey, everybody should get their picks, okay, fine. If that's the case, then there's no need to bring it up in front of parliamentary. The Sunnis sit down, they talk amongst themselves about their candidates. The same thing with the Shia leaders. The same thing with Kurdistan. They just pick who they want. Given the importance of the position of prime minister and in line with the Constitution, and see, here's the thing: they keep saying in line with the Constitution, but they've already violated the Constitution. They haven't even formed a government yet, and it's way past the constitutional time. What they should be doing here is, in this paragraph, you see him say, the president of the republic occupies an important and fundamental moral position. Right here is where everybody should focus. The protector of the Constitution. The protector of the Constitution. Then the president should be able to override all of parliamentary and say, this is what's going to happen. You have X amount of days to get a candidate in there and voted on and approved. If you can't get that done, then the one that occupies the presidency will continue in that position for the next term. You'll get people rocking and rolling, and that should be for all positions. This way, then, there's no deadlock. You have to come up with somebody. You better come up with them soon, because as the protector of the Constitution, it is my job to enforce it. If that's the case, you guys are way past the time to get in your president, prime minister, and the rest of the cabinet members. So here we're still talking about the prime minister. And again, this is given the importance of the position of the prime minister and in line with the Constitution, and taking into account the right of the majority, the right of the largest component of society must be preserved through the blocks of the larger component allied to form the most numerous block, and then agree on a nomination of the next prime minister, and the participating forces in the government bear the responsibility for his or her failure and his or her success and accountability, as well as pledge to provide him with full support in accordance with the government program headquarters, and announce this to the General Conference. Provided by the candidate for the position is characterized by competence, integrity, political and economic experience, and other qualities required in this position, which necessitates the most numerous blocks to test and be convinced of his or her program, politician, and assess his or her qualifications and competence before being selected and approved. So yeah, I mean, we don't have to go down each of these. Just understand they've published this so-called initiative. They put it in the news for the Iraqi people to read, to make it look like, hey, look, we're really trying. This is what we want for everybody. Sure, it looks good in writing, but when it's time to sit down at the table, if they're sincere, then they should give up the blocking of the president chosen by Sauter's group. Sauter's got the largest voting block. That's how you know they're not sincere by this. If they were sincere about what they were saying, they would step aside because they don't have the majority blocks. Sauter does. And then when you come down here, they want to add on extra things. In other words, if they can't win in this negotiation to be able to select the prime minister that they want, and or to get into coordination framework into the government like they want, and Sauter doesn't want, especially the Law of Coalition group, which is headed by Maliki. If they can't get Maliki into the government, then what they're going to try to do is backdoor everybody by putting them into these committees. And these committees, their job is to oversee all the actions of the executive branches like the president and the prime minister, and they are to be held accountable. And then if they find in any way, shape, or form that these particular people are not doing what they're supposed to do, of course they want the right to do something about it. A backdoor way of trying to do a power grab by using these committees to remove those individuals that you do not like. And you can see what I'm talking about right here. It says, everyone undertakes to implement the obligations contained in this paper as follows. So they want these people obligated to implement this. Undertaken to review all contracts, loans, and appointments in the day-to-day management government from the date of dissolving the House of Representatives until the formation of a new government. Amending the election law according to the federal court decision number 159 of, there's the date there, obligating the parliament to amend the law and a pledge to change and restructure the commission's cadres, select a board of commissioners from amongst those who are known for their experience, and hold accountable those whose deficiencies are proven within the law. This is what I'm talking about. Because if they overwhelmingly become made up of the coordination framework, you can imagine what will happen. They'll just use another avenue to remove the people they don't want in charge of their country and put their own corrupt people in there. Preserving the rights of the minorities, protecting them, and preserving their interests through equal opportunities, freedom of belief, and other articles stipulated in the Iraq Constitution. The link for this article is down below. It's, you could go through here, and if you really are a person who pays attention to geopolitics or just politics in general, you can see what it is they're trying to do. It looks all nice in paper, but if you could read between the lines, it's just another sneaky way for them to get in power. Academia affirms Iraq's keenness to consolidate joint Arab and regional action. Said Iraqi Prime Minister Al-Kadhimi had a phone call with the Saudi Crown Prince bin Salman on the occasion of Eid al-Fitr, according to the statement issued by the Prime Minister's media office. So Al-Kadhimi, according to the statement, his sincere wishes for continued progress and prosperity for the government and the people of Saudi Arabia, stressing Iraq's keenness to consolidate joint Arab and regional action for the stability of the region and well-being of its people, and to build sustainable development for peace-loving peoples. So I don't know why, but for some reason, when I read this statement, it gave me this feeling that Al-Kadhimi was saying to the Saudi prince, let's stay unified and make sure that every decision we make is for the betterment of our people. Something tells me he's talking about OPEC, even though it doesn't say here that they should continue doing what they're doing and not buckle under the pressure of the United States or its allies to produce more oil in order to keep Europe off of the oil that Russia is providing. Very interesting. I don't know why that crossed my mind. It just kind of did. Now, this is awesome, awesome news. This is something that people should be excited about because this is a big portion of a good reason to change the exchange rate, but not all of the reasons. So if the overall of Iraq is at least moving forward for the most part. Every now and then we run into an issue like we are with, the government right now, but they're not as bad as it used to be, but they're not as good as they need to be. International monetary, Iraq's revenue will reach nearly $150 billion in 2022. Nice little chunk of change. The IMF expected that Iraq will achieve a jump in its public revenues during the 2022 year after the rise in oil prices. According to the fund's estimate, it is expected that the Arab oil exporting countries will witness leaps in the revenues during the current year. No kidding. In conjunction with the rise in oil prices globally, noted that it is expected that Iraq's revenues during the 2022 year will reach $149 billion with an annual change of rate of 73% over the 2021 year. That is phenomenal. That's a huge jump. Now, again, this is only forecast. We're barely going into the 5th month. As long as nothing happens to oil prices, this is what they're projecting. A 70% increase over the revenue generated in 2021. Then it goes down here and it breaks the other nations that are part of the OPEC and the percentages of increase. Saudi Arabia has a 28%. Libya has an 84%. That's awesome. The UAE has a 46%. Kuwait has a 46%. Qatar's revenues is up 40%. Oman's is up 34%. Algeria is up 28%. So overall, all these countries are doing much better. That's a huge jump for all of them, and their countries could benefit them as long as the money is being spent on the people properly. So we'll see what happens. The coordination framework has issued an initiative. It sounds like BS to me, but whatever it takes in order to get the government formed so we could see the direction that Iraq really wants to go into. That's what we're waiting to find out. Anyways, that's it for now. Hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it, and I'll catch you later. I'm out.